All right, Gainz Nation. So I'm already messing up over here, but we'll maybe do a little. I mean, you've got a tour on your Instagram.
I got to update though because I haven't all sorts of new stuff, so I should do one at some point.
Yeah. So this is Dr. Kyle Richmond. If you guys don't know him, maybe just do a quick intro and then we'll hit things off, and then we'll get the conversation going.
Absolutely. So, like he said, I'm Dr. Kyle Richmond. I own Rebuilt Strength and Rehab in Frankfort, Illinois. More of like a sports chiropractor, but I treat everywhere from 90-year-old grandparents to 15-year-old kids, whether they're active or desk workers. So a little bit of everything. It's chiropractic, but also a lot of like the exercise, PT kind of base style care.
Yeah, I even I almost took offense to that. I am a desk worker, so yeah. I was gonna say I do stand most of the time for working, which I have a sit stand. Yeah. But maybe one of these days we'll do a stand up podcast because like Mark Bell does. Yep. Mark Bell, I don't know if you know Mark Bell is. He does it like his whole podcast setup is a stand up one, and then when I did one virtually with you the first time, I'm pretty sure most of the podcasts I'm doing are standing up. So I hardly sit down. I think that's the nice thing about being a desk worker, finding out because like I have a lot of energy most of the time. Yeah. So it's like I'm standing up to be able to hold that energy and also stay healthy. Yeah. And man, I couldn't tell you one quick thing. Sorry, is I couldn't tell you how many times my hamstrings were so tight from sitting down like 8 hours a day, and then taking the train for an hour both ways. Yep. And then my every time I worked out, every time I walked, every time I moved, my hamstrings would be so it would feel so bad. Mm-hmm. So I bet a lot of the patients probably come to you with that or back pain, right? Back pain and hamstrings is probably like the biggest thing.
I'd say back pain's number one.
Yeah.
Neck pain's number two, and then everything else like falls under like shoulders, hips, knees. People forget that like chiropractors can treat more than just neck and back pain. Yeah. And sometimes it's like all I see is the extremity-based stuff. Some days it's all like you get 10 back pain patients in a row, which it's the most common thing people suffer from, but see a little bit of everything.
And before we forget, and I'm gonna link all the podcasts before this too, so you guys can get a good idea. So if like just in case, because I don't want to spend too much time, but if you guys want to learn more about Kyle, go ahead and look at those links. We'll put them in the description so you could see everything about him, what he wants to do here, because, I mean, obviously with this conversation, we'll kind of get into that, but I don't want to make sure we want to get some fresh content for you guys. And also, too, before I forget, please tell them how they can vote for you. I know I posted it, but I want because it's going until sometime in July, right?
Yeah, so I'm running for Southland's Best Chiropractor and Best Chiropractic Clinic. I have a text code. You can text 341 and 342 to 708-766-8867. You can text daily. Dude, this goes through July 21st.
Oh, you can text daily?
You can text daily.
Wow.
Oh, see, that's why I did a poor job of telling people.
So, guys, I've only voted for once. And,
all right, we got 20 more days.
Yeah, so, okay, I'll text daily. And make sure you guys, I'll put that in the link, too, or the description, too, is the phone number, then the 341 and 342, right?
Yes.
And you could text daily or message daily. And I will start doing it too now.
See, that was on me though. I did a poor job at first. I'm like, here, text. It's like,
okay. Did you put? You probably put that out there.
I think I started putting daily more often just because. And then, dude, you don't get to know who won until like October. You have no idea who's in the lead. You have no idea. So it's just it's a blind voting thing for now. But we'll see. I appreciate your support.
Yeah, no problem. So can anyone vote inside and outside of Illinois too? Like, say if they have a different area code.
Oh yeah, anyone in the U.S.
Okay, so if you're watching this. Anyone in the U.S., please vote. And maybe by Halloween we'll know if Kyle won or not. maybe it'll be the joke. We'll get him some fake costume where he's winning. But so what do you win? And what is the overall goal with this too?
So the biggest thing is you just get to have the logo of like Southland's Best, and in this area, a lot of people take that very seriously. Yeah. It's like it's an award. Do I put my whole identity behind it? No, but it'd be pretty cool in year one to be, hey, I can take this award and, grow with it.
Well, it's like a military rank, right? When you see all those like patches and medals, I think on the opposite spectrum is like that goes to show that you put the work and effort in, and you're not just here doing nothing, right? So it's like, even if it if it doesn't mean everything, and, you know, I think you're still going to work your ass off, like, even if you didn't get it. But, like, I think that's respectful, especially when someone's coming new to business, right? Because, like, like, a lot of clients could be coming to you just via just, like, the local newspaper, the Frankfurt articles, you know? It's like, and they might not be on Instagram. I still know people my age and our age, I should say, that don't even go on Instagram. So it's like, well, what if they saw that and they're like, well, that's pretty great. Right. You know, or on the other side, if you didn't have that and you only been a year of business, and then they go to someone that's been in business for 10 years, but they never look at future research, they never update any of their stuff, they never, you know, it could go either way, right? So I think that's really good. So I just wanted to mention it. I want to mention everything I can before we get into it. Also, we'll start off with this. What's been new with you since the last time we seen you? I mean, before this podcast came out, I mean, you had your grand opening. We were just talking about before we started recording is sometime in, August of last year?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, so what's been going on since August of last year? Just in case, also, if you guys aren't following Kyle, please follow him. He's on Instagram, YouTube, what else?
Those are the big ones now. I do some stuff on TikTok, but like those are my two big platforms I feel like I do the most. But the newest stuff, honestly, has just been learning how to run the business, right? Is learning the ins and outs, getting better at patient care, the flow, marketing more, talking to more people in the community. It hasn't necessarily changed the sense of like anything crazy. It's just I'm scaling more. I'm seeing more people. I'm trying to do more on the social media aspect. Changing things in here, adding some new stuff for patients. Got the art machine, I've got power plate, you know, things like that. But in terms of new, it's just, man, I'm learning how to run a business. And it's so fun and rewarding, stressful at the same time. And I think that's, you know, I always heard that from people. Oh, wait till you run a business, like you'll never have a day off. You really don't, but then you have the ability to take off when you need. You have the ability to, you have more freedom, and I think that's the nice thing is it all comes down to how hard I want to work and what I want to do. If I want to take a day off, I take a day off. Yeah. If I want to grind out, vacation, I can take a week off, and it's not a big deal versus like, you know, it's all on me, but that's about it.
Yeah, so I mean that's really great because it's like, you know, some also people listening, you know, this is generally a health and fitness podcast, but like even if you're thinking about doing a business, like here's your great example, prime example of someone that's been doing it now for almost a year, and has it made you been like more fulfilling in your life and happy overall?
Yes, I feel like I have this control of my life. I get to make decisions. You know, I like putting everything I have to do like on my shoulders. I want to be the one responsible for everything. You know, if something fails, it's because of me. If something succeeds, it's because of me. I don't want to have other influences determining my success. And I think it's important for people in health and fitness. I get this from trainers, people who own gyms, like make that jump and go for it. I really do think that's, you know, it's hard in the health industry sometimes to be successful and make a bunch of money and work for somebody else because everyone needs to take their share. You know, it's obviously I was in a situation where I had a lot of support. I didn't have a lot of responsibilities. I had no kids. We rent a condo. Like I didn't have things where it's like, you know what, if this fails, you know, I'm going to be okay. But also in the same mindset, I was like, this can't fail. This is the only option I have. This has to go. And, you know, I've had my girlfriend Olivia was the most supportive I've been working crazy hours. Sometimes it's 12 hours a day on my phone doing stuff, like go. But then now learning the balance of it all is the other beast. Yeah.
Have you, because it's, you know, have you been on like any big vacations? Have you taken time off since pretty much a year? I mean, I haven't really seen it. So
not yet. We're going to go to the Iowa State Fair upcoming soon. We haven't taken a full-on trip. That's something I have to be able to willing to be like, well, let me take a week off. But I was more so in like that first year or two, grind it out. I mean, I'm seeing crazy success in the first year. So I'm like, hey, keep going. Know when to take time off. We'll plan a vacation. That's more on me. I have to say, hey, it's okay, but nothing crazy yet. Yeah,
I think, I mean, my last position at the company I've been at, you kind of can tell, like, once you kind of hit that point. And that's why I switched positions, like, 3 years ago at the company I'm at. But, like, I mean, hopefully you don't hit that point. And just, I think, I mean, not an opinion or anything, but, like, I think if you at least schedule that time out, you probably won't ever hit that point.
Right.
And I think what you're doing right now is so good. And, I mean, especially with your girlfriend's business, Olivia's business, like, you guys are doing such great things where it's like, I think it's going to be rewarding at some point in your life. And one of my older brothers once said, like, that's why you work hard now so you can play later.
And that's kind of where I'm at. I see, and that was the hardest thing when I didn't graduate until I was almost 27. I'm like, I felt behind, right? Yeah. Not married, no kids, no house, none of this stuff. But you're like, keep grinding now, because all of a sudden I'm seeing the rewards from all these years of work, and you're like, okay, it's starting to happen. But I don't want to take the foot off the gas just yet. A lot of my goals became financial goals, because that was something that I never had a lot of money because I was a student, and then
that's kind of everyone's first goals, right?
Right, and then I'm like, hey, don't back off until, like, I don't know, I keep setting the goal higher. I make this goal, I'm like, all right, go more. I definitely have been working on getting the balance, though. I've been good with that. I've had some help from a friend who's been like my mental performance coach, learning to put some boundaries in, scheduling time off, scheduling when to do things, because I have the tendency in most business owners to just go 25 hours out of a day, right? You can go more than the day has. It's literally how that works.
Yeah, hopefully you're taking a lot of ashwagandha at night so you can ease your mind to sleep.
That's why I got my Oura ring. I'm trying to get all my sleep tracked now.
Yeah, how do you like the Oura ring and everything?
I was a Whoop guy for a while. I didn't like having 2 watches on. This thing is so just like light, and I don't even notice it.
Okay.
And it's nice to have more metrics. I'm a big metrics guy when it comes to health.
Yeah, the only thing I didn't like about the Oura Ring is how they, not that I have one or ever had one, is they changed that forever subscription to like that monthly. It's kind of like Whoop. That's why it's like kind of hard to like get those, because especially for like the regular person like me, I'd say, like when I get the Fitbit, it's because I was able to get it through insurance.
Right.
Yeah, I got mine through insurance by getting points. Like, it's like, but like when it comes to like Fitbit Plus or like Oura Ring, like it just kind of blows my mind on how they won't release those like statistics unless you pay monthly.
Yeah, I already paid enough for the thing, and then you pay monthly.
Well, because it's like what, $200 for the ring, and then $300, even more.
It's like $500.
Wow.
Yeah. And then you pay $70 a year for the subscription. So it's a big investment. It's not for everybody in terms of like, if once you're doing, I feel like this is great once you're doing all things really well. Like you're getting better at your sleep and nutrition. Then you can fine tune things with this. If you're getting an Oura Ring and you're not already not sleeping and not eating and not exercising, that data doesn't mean anything. Yeah. Once you're up there, okay, now start getting like the more fine details. Yeah, that's what I probably mentioned this on a podcast is what I would say sometimes too for some people who like can find like a Whoop or an Oura Ring or an Apple Watch, like if you could pay for something and then you get those statistics, maybe for a whole year or 6 months, whatever that short-term goal is, like a mesocycle, whatever the case is, then you can kind of probably switch the plan to like a cheaper plan, or even maybe go on the free plan. Because what I would say is, it's like I think the last episode, it's like habits. So like say if you were able to, say if you're just in a funk, or summer is stressful for you or winter is stressful for you, and you're just trying to make sure you fine tune everything so you can be consistent, and then to the point where it's like kind of like clockwork. Because like a lot of the times for me, like if I don't record food, sometimes it's not like clockwork. It's I'm not consistent with my eating choices. And I'm dieting right now for like a family vacation, but like I haven't recorded, and this is like the first time I've been doing this, and I'm already down like 2 pounds. So it's like, it's just different for people. But what I would say is, I think it's like good to see that stuff at first, but it's like, okay, but if you did it for like a year, then you kind of figure like, okay, like I worked too hard that day. For some, there was something bad happened to me. I got in a car accident. That's why I slept bad that night. It's like you kind of can pinpoint things, and you're just like, okay, now maybe I'm not breathing properly. Like maybe I'm snoring. Like my partner says, hey, I'm snoring. I need to maybe get a sleep specialist or something. Now I'm getting too much. I love it. No, you're good.
Yeah, but does that make sense though? Like
it does. Yeah. I said that with the Whoop. I used to wear it for like a couple months to get a baseline again. Hey, where do I need to improve? Because you should be making those habits to keep it. This shouldn't just be here to be like, oh, I'm not sleeping well, and then you don't change anything. It should be to get a baseline, and you don't need it forever. Just like with macros, right? I haven't tracked in a while, but then when I need to kind of see where am I at, I'll track for a couple weeks. Go, that's about what my baseline is. Yeah. Okay, now you can make the change. Or sometimes you have no idea. You need to bring it back to reality, and that's where, I don't think someone needs to wear this for Could you wear it for 10 years?
Yeah.
Sure. Do you need to? No, but it's a great way to bring awareness.
Yeah. And then I'll move off the tangent, guys. I promise. I just want to say congratulations to the 100K followers.
That's unreal. It's so like, and I was having a conversation.
I remember when you were at like the couple thousands and stuff. So
I was a guy who thought social media was stupid. I wasn't going to use it. Then I started using it like to show what I can do, and it started growing. And like even I was telling Olivia, I was like, I'm excited. Like it's super cool. I don't want to be obnoxious. Like it's a big deal for some. To have that following. I don't make it my entire identity, but it definitely, what it does, it reassures and kind of gives me that confirmation of what I'm doing is actually, helping and influencing people in the right way.
Yeah.
It's also opened some crazy doors for me, professionally.
Yeah.
It puts me in different conversations, different rooms with people. So, I'm definitely excited, but, I don't want to get too like, oh, look at me, like type of deal. I don't want to be obnoxious, but I appreciate that.
Yeah, I know. I think it's really great because it's like, I think it was also really organic too. And I don't even think we were kind of talking about it, but we're not going to talk about the whole story, but like, I never even seen you put like ads out. Like I never seen you do any of that stuff. So it was always like either word to mouth, people reposting, things like that.
It was pretty consistent. That's like, I had some posts that'll do like maybe go viral and help, but I wasn't the guy that went from 1,000 to 100,000 like overnight. Yeah. People who get that tend to not have great success then afterwards because it's too big of a blow up. But like over time, because it took me basically from October of 22 to June of 24, I went from like 700 followers to 100,000.
Yeah.
So it was.
Well, they could be buying followers too at that point.
I know the accounts, you can see that stuff. The people are in the engagement groups. I know some people are hilarious, but no, it's crazy, and I'm definitely very, I'm very blessed to have that because I don't take that lightly.
One last comment about the social media. Did you figure out the YouTube algorithm yet? Because that thing is a beast.
I started to get some traction there. I'm
Okay,
like, okay, I'm starting to get into YouTube shorts, and like you have to start posting longer form and use tags, and I'd love to get to 100K on that too. That freaking plaque they give you is like the coolest thing in the world. Like Instagram don't get that.
Does Instagram do that or
no? Because I'm like, wow, that'd be cool to have something. Again, that's just more.
So you're saying Mark Zuckerberg can't afford that?
Call them out. Yeah, there you go.
Because now Meta owns them. So, but yeah, the YouTube plaques are like really great. And it's like really awesome, especially like when you're talking to people and you can like put it up in the background. You got that play button.
Yeah, it's pretty cool because it's like an award. It's like having I hate to say like having a degree, but something to hang up because like a lot of people come here and they have no idea that I have a social media account.
Yeah.
Again, that's fine.
Well, that's what we were talking about earlier. I was like, a lot that Southland award that you can get like that's what I'm saying. Like it's like something like that. It's like, and then when someone comes in there, they're like, oh, 100,000 followers on YouTube, like. I never even knew that.
Yeah. It's just more confirmation of like you have like that's what I say, like I focus on getting reviews, the Southland's best, social media. All that stuff is like when people are looking at where to go, it's like that just confirms. It's not just one thing. There's multiple things. Like, that's where you really start to grow as a business. Yeah,
honestly, a lot of the stuff, and I'm glad that's why like when I was talking to Kyle early on, I was like, get on YouTube. I think it was after our Skype session. And not to say I'm not.
No, but like that helps.
I know, but
like that.
Yeah, I know, but like I because the fact that I'm more prone to look at YouTube stuff instead of Instagram stuff. Mm-hmm. Like Instagram's like cool and all, but like it doesn't have like a great search function.
Nope.
It doesn't give you a history really of like what you watched unless you like liked it and then like you see like, oh, I've seen this before. But like when I look at like Kyle's like content, most of the times I'm saving stuff to like a playlist on YouTube. I could see it in my history. So if I want to go back, like I don't have to go to his Instagram profile and then I don't have to scroll. Yep. Kyle posts a lot, like you guys know. Like Kyle posts a lot, so it's like, how many videos back do I have to do?
Right.
They did do better on Instagram, like where you can bookmark things, because I also have bookmarked some of your stuff too.
Yeah.
Where it's a lot easier, because I don't know if you noticed, but I've been having a little bit of tennis elbow issues in my both of my elbows, and it's been a pain in my ass. But everything's been fine. It's going in a positive direction, but like something like that, like they're getting better. But like I think YouTube, in a whole sense, like especially with the app, is like so much more it's so much more convenient for someone looking for information.
Well, they call it evergreen, right? Because you can search for something and you can find something from 2 years ago and there it is.
Yeah.
Instagram, you don't search for, I don't just go on there and go elbow pain. And it's like the algorithm, and you'll see reels. You're like, how do I navigate this? I don't know titles. YouTube's where I'm putting like longer form stuff. I'm still putting short form, but I really do like YouTube a lot.
Yeah, and I'm glad that it's starting to work out, because I remember last time we were talking too, is like, you're like, I still can't figure out YouTube. Like,
I have like 300 subscribers. Like, doesn't make sense. I'm at like 3,600 now, and it's starting to like keep going.
Well, also too, if like you use like the popular audio is just like weird. Like when I post on it, it's like weird audio compared to like Instagram, where it's like actually like up and coming music, trending music. Yeah, like the new Eminem songs like trending. It's like that's cool. I really like Eminem. Like I want to use this.
Yes.
YouTube, it's like you got to use some like anime cartoony.
Yeah,
sound.
I'm like, this is weird.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, and then like when you add audio in the background, they'll hit you with a copyright. So it's
you got to be real careful on the long form stuff on there. Real careful.
Yeah, YouTube's copyrighted a bunch of my stuff.
Yeah.
Even when I would just do like vlog style stuff, and like when about LA, I did a vlog style video, and I had like Tupac playing in the background, and then they like flagged it. I'm like, the dude's passed away. Like, bro, chill.
What are we
like,
doing?
Yeah, like,
come on.
Like, can we do some free speech or some free music on this thing? Like, and then like even YouTube, like they even like the free stuff they give you is like, it's kind of weird. But anyways, I digress. Let me. I did get some questions prepared for you.
I think I'm
so I talked about, let's talk about your app. That's another big thing too.
What?
Your app, how you're building programs and whatnot.
Oh yeah. So
why don't we talk about that? Because that was like one of the stuff too, and then we'll kind of get some bigger questions. I guess. Yeah.
So I have so it's not an app I own, but like I have programs for people.
Yeah.
I have a strength and mobility mix one where it's like, how do I take, because people see all this mobility stuff I do, all awesome, fine, dandy. How do I put that in my actual training? Mm-hmm. So I offer a program that has both, where you'll bench press, and you'll do shoulder capsule work, and then you'll do pull downs, and you'll do elbow work, whatever it is. I also have individual programs for like upper body mobility, shoulder, hip, lower body, runner specific. So I'm offering stuff like that as like a lower price point for people who want to work with me, but like can't get here for an actual appointment or want something maybe a little more specific to their needs. I've got programs now. I'm trying to build that out and have a community on there, it's been getting a lot of traction in terms of
what's the app called?
So I don't it's just through CoachRx.
Okay.
So you can find it through the links in my bio and like the website, which we're starting to build out a little more. But that seems to be slowly where things are going to, more that like program subscription based model. So is
it something where it kind of has like a technology where it kind of builds off like results and like outcomes?
I do it all. So it's everyone follows like the stuff.
So if like they do week 1 and 2, and then you'll go in there and do week 3 and 4.
I make sure I keep progressing it and then changing things up, and I have full say on like kind of what it is. So it's like essentially people are following the training I do.
Cool.
Which is kind of where, how do you marry that self-care? Because what I don't want people to do is like, I have to go to the gym and do 45 minutes of mobility and then 45 minutes of lifting. It's like, why don't we combine those, get you in and out in an hour or 45 minutes and still get all the work done? So that's kind of the niche I'm in with that.
Yeah, there's two. Yeah, I was going to say, I wanted to know about that because it's like very interesting, because like some people, when they release programs, they'll kind of give you just this layout. And it's like, well, what the heck, like what if something happened week 1 and 2? Or like, what if, that's why I wanted to know about like the results and outcome, because I'm training one of my wife's like best friends for her wedding, because she wants to look good for her wedding. I said that I definitely love to, but like I would do it on a week to week basis, because the fact that like things change. I said I would be like, how are the kids doing? How is their stress levels? How is your sleep? Have you been eating? I mean it's a stressful thing. I had to prepare for 2 weddings, because my first one got canceled because of COVID, and then the second one we had to do it from out of state because we were living in Arizona. So I had to do it twice. So I had to do that stressful like time. Yeah. So a lot of programs, like that's why I also wanted to ask, because like I would never suggest anyone buy those like the old school 16-week program. It's like, well, how can you determine from week 1 to 16 on that client? Well,
that's my biggest thing. No, and that's why I offer like a lot of like, when I do custom programs for people and I work with someone individually, I go week by week. I don't program out the 4 weeks and go, if you had a problem, we'll figure out in 4 weeks. Every week I look at it and go, okay, here's your comment. You struggle with this, or this was too easy, or this didn't do anything for you. Great, let's change that, because when people pay $600 for a 16-week program and it's just a copy and paste template from week 1 to 16, you're like, not the greatest.
Yeah, there was another guy we had, Steve Hall from Revive Stronger.
Okay.
He's in the UK, and we kind of talked to him about that too, because he is more of just the personal trainer type, and he competes in bodybuilding over there in the UK, and he's like a judge.
Yeah.
And we kind of talked about that too, because like a lot of the coaches and trainers online will just do that, and it's like, well, did you even consult them? Or they'll have like a basic Google sheet. It's like, are you male, female? How old? What's your weight, height? And it's like,
and none of that even matters.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
It's just a courtesy. It's like,
and then they're like, ooh, let's just do them on a push-pull legs. 3-4 days a week, cool. We'll call it.
There you go.
Yeah.
And you don't know. Everyone's doing the same thing.
And then I'm glad you mentioned about like the scheduling, because I think the last time before the grand opening here, I think I asked you that question. So if you guys want to hear that, but like, that was my biggest thing too when I started following you and started trying to, pay attention to you or like Kelly Starrett, is like, how do you fit all that into your training? So like that was like the big thing I think we talked about last time, because like I generally wanted to know. I was like, as much as I want people to know, like sometimes I'm selfish and I just want to know too, because it's like I'm trying to be better as a coach, trainer, just a healthier individual. So,
well, let me pull back behind the curtain. As I tell a lot of people, the amount of mobility training I do is so minuscule. Yeah. You don't need to be in there doing all these things. I do a lot of it to show people on social media. But if you look at my actual training, there's strength, like a pure lift in there. Yeah. There's hypertrophy work, and there's some mobility stuff that's intertwined. Like I look at, okay, let's say my shoulder start losing external rotation.
Yeah.
I need to focus that a little bit more.
Yeah.
But once I have it, I just need to maintain with some cars or full range of motion of other things.
Yeah.
You don't have to be like, okay, I got to hit every single range of motion of my hip, every single knee, ankle. You're in the gym for 2 hours trying to do all this mobility. For what?
Yeah.
So minuscule.
Yeah, that's why I think I've had a lot of trouble with like my elbows, because I tend to do a lot of barbell work, and with especially like my squats and everything, all those tight positions I get into, I think I've overabused, like, because I'm that type of person that once I liked something, I can run with it for a long time. Mm-hmm. And I think the over excessive work on like my elbows with all the same positions that I've been working on.
That's it.
Yeah, it just put me into that spot where everything is getting like just overused and overly tight, and everything just feels a little rough. So like what's nice about now, long story short, is like I'm just doing things like fun training, I guess. Like say if like yesterday, like typically I would squat, but I'm doing like goblet squats. I'm like, and then like I was telling my wife afterwards, I was like, gosh darn, my glutes are still like spasming. Yeah. And I'm like, ooh, this feels nice. Like, but like like for me, like, and what we tell is like, especially with like bodybuilding or hypertrophy movements, like you want to actually feel what you're lifting. And like, that's like a good sign. It's like, holy cow, like I felt it a lot more than I thought I was.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right. So to your point too, what I think a lot of people misunderstand mobility is, let's say you're someone who always is bench pressing. Your elbows don't move outside of here all the time. Well, the elbow has the ability to fully supinate and fully pronate. Yeah. The mobility training fills that gap in. So instead of the same tissue being loaded over and over, let's change it and let's load other things. And that offsets that load onto the joint, which makes people feel a lot better. Yeah,
I was doing some of your kettlebell work when that one where we put pretty much your forearm and elbow onto like a flat surface. Yep. So I've been doing those a little bit pre and post workouts. Good. Just to get some work in. And like Kyle was saying, is like I might spend 5 minutes or less out of like 50-minute workout, 40. And then, well, I'm not going to get into it because like I said, I get a lot of tangents, but like I just told like a kid the other day, I said, I try to do as minimally as possible so I don't have to be in here for hours.
That's the thing. It's all about the intensity. If you're going to do 30 minutes mobility work and it's half-assed, it's like 30% effort, you're not making change. Well, I want 5 minutes of hard, controlled effort. Yeah. There you go.
Well, that's why when I started doing like that kettlebell work for my elbows, like I started off with 5 pounds. I was like, shit, like this is really light.
Yeah.
And like, I'm like, I got up to like 10 or 15 pounds. I'm like, okay, now I'm starting to feel everything like flex and move and contract. Yep. And I'm feeling it all. So like, that's why like when he's saying that, and it's same with training. Like if you're doing over 20 reps, there's no way reps 10 through 20 are probably that intense.
Right.
Unless you are. I mean, Sometimes but I also preach that like I like training bodybuilding like RPE 9 or 10 because I think muscles do really great under that tension. But like, it's like me, like, hey, if I do a sentence like 20 and it felt like 10 of those reps are kind of like iffy, then obviously I need to move up the weight or move up to something that's going to help me get that intensity like you're saying.
Well, because you can get hypertrophy, anything over like, realistically 5 or 6, it's time under tension.
Oh, yeah.
If you're getting to 12 and 13, now you're actually just getting fatigue from just you're losing blood flow in the area versus like, you're like getting out of breath and stuff because you're just like, you're trying to inhale, exhale, and you're tightening things. Like you're trying to, like, especially squats, like to tighten up like your core and everything and do 20 reps. Like you're probably just like exhausted from just getting that position. Most of my workouts are like 45 minutes. They're hard, they're intense. They're to the point, and I get out and I get way better results versus trying to be there for an hour and a half and just doing everything I can just to check the boxes.
Yeah.
Oh, my whole training has changed so much in the last few years, but that's been the big thing, intensity. And that's when I tell people mobility. Like, if I teach you how to do a lift off and you're like 20, 21, 22, you're not doing anything. You're just moving your hip. Great, we do this all day. But I want you to get to rep 8 and be like, holy crap, there it is.
It, like, in your hip, your glutes, all that. Also, too, I asked about the program, too, because Renaissance Periodization, they do a very great job with, like, their hypertrophy app.
Yeah.
I think they do it where it's, like, hands-on and off, like, where they have a technology where it kind of – it was, like, back when I used to when I was using I think it was Avatar Nutrition by Dr. Lane Norton.
God, yeah, I remember that.
That's, like, old school.
Yeah.
When I was using it for the post-bodybuilding show – they had a technology where they would adjust, like, I would do measurements, I would do my macros, and they would adjust my macros week by week by that. So I asked because I was curious if you looked at that stuff too, which is like really cool. Like I said, I'm really all about it. If you would have said like a cut and paste, I'd be like, God damn it!
Oh no,
I gotta cut it. I gotta cut it.
This is over. We'll end the interview. Yeah. No, it's very custom, and that's why I want to get more of like, I'd love to have like an actual app built out. Something I'm looking into. They're very expensive, but where this is trending, if I can get something like that, like a rebuilt app, that'd be so awesome.
Yeah.
Like a true like my own customization would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I think, and also too, it's like it's nice to have that too because like you said, like even me, like I do I write out most of my stuff, but like most of the time, like I'll reach out to Roman, the co-host too, and like just be like, dude, can you just look at this? Like, this is what's going on. I was like, sometimes like people just need that. And like, see, the thing is like, also a lot of people listening aren't like so psychotic and like specific about training than I am, I think. They just want to just get a good workout in.
Right.
So which is like perfectly okay, which is like, hey, I push you to do that because I think a lot of people need something like that. So let's see. What else is on the agenda? Okay, so this is from Sam, my wife.
Hi, Sam.
She is pregnant again with our second child, so she's going through the whirlwind of pregnancy, postpartum. Do any of your studying or any of your research, like, do you ever deal or like learn about pregnancy with women and how their bodies change and whatnot?
Yeah,
because I want to go straight to the question, but I want to ask that first. No.
We do touch on that in school, and it's from a chiropractic standpoint, they talk about things very differently of like manipulation, which I have a different take on versus what maybe traditional chiros do.
Yeah.
But from a health and fitness perspective, I know a great amount because I deal with a lot of that. Things are changing. What can you still do? What can you not do? What's safe? What's not safe? Like, where should you be? So, what's the big point?
So it's more towards the postpartum style. So like when she had our first son, like her core, her abs, everything over there, it just wasn't the same for pretty much a year. Like when she would do like a hanging knee raise, like it would just be hard to even get the knees up to like the chest. So like some of the things, like what do you suggest for women going through that? Not to, I'm going to say like, it's just obviously in my part of life, but like, some people like might have a wife or might be pregnant right now.
Yes.
What are some things that like women can do like postpartum to help with that and assist like kind of recovering? Because it just, I don't know the actual term, but it takes a toll like on their core and their abdomen as a whole.
So the big thing is because it's essentially like a trauma that happens to the body. It skews the results of like knowing on the brain how to connect to the spine and the core musculature. Yeah. The biggest thing I tell people is and this you could start as early on as like before pregnancy, is learning how to move your spine, because your abs and your low back muscles are what control spinal movement. Okay, let's try to maintain it as long as we can during pregnancy. And then once you're done, it's not about just doing crunches and everything. It's just learning how, can I flex my spine? Yeah. Can I extend? Dead bugs, like isometric based work, and just trying to retrain that pathway. Yeah. A lot of DNS stuff, that's dynamic neuromuscular stabilization. Fancy way to like work on breathing stuff. From a rehab perspective, you start a lot smaller. Like I'll start people in cat count, just like tiny movement. Yeah. Start learning how to engage that lower abdominal again. Yeah. It doesn't mean like you have to go and do heavy squats or leg raises, or that's where people kind of jump to because they see core work as that. Yeah. But core work can be as simple as learning how to move your spine on a very low level, isometrics.
Yeah. So because I was thinking too is like it's kind of like when you're teaching someone how to like properly brace, right?
Yep.
Like those breathing techniques, like even for people who aren't going through postpartum, could probably benefit, because sometimes like a lot of the times like we were talking about, like a lot of people, like we were talking about before this, like some people might not know how to fire certain things. Right. So like even me, like when I did, and like another tangent, long story short, like when I did a bodybuilding show, like my glutes were really underdeveloped. And that kind of told me, it's like, did I ever get my glutes involved with my like leg training or my lower body training?
Right.
Because why was my hamstrings, my calves, my quads? I mean, my quads were like torn up, and my calves, you could see them like spectacular views, but like my glutes were like, they were just like, oh, they kind of look like they're saggy potatoes, you know? It's like, not to be like that, but no, that's really good. And also too, like even my mindset, like what you're saying is my mindset, I kind of just rushed to like, hey, maybe put you under a bar, but maybe that's not something that you should start right away, because it's like, but if you get under that bar, put some load, what could happen when you're, going through postpartum? Like you could potentially injure yourself, or, move different, your whole pattern can change, like you said. And I didn't even realize that. So like so pretty much like women can kind of lose the sense of like even that pattern movement.
So think about the muscles are working differently when they're pregnant, right? Your abs are not contracting as much because you're in an overextended position. Yeah. It's like having a post-injury. If you had, let's say your arm was in a sling for a while, like certain muscles aren't connecting to the brain as well. So we start like isometric, getting you to feel it, because if I can get you to feel your abs and your hip work, now when I actually get you to go squat, you feel that. Versus like when things are turned off, for lack of better words, when someone goes to squat, they go, man, I didn't feel my glutes. Yeah. Like, we have to build that pattern again, get the brain to be like, hey, we'll use this, and we do it. So I start from a very basic, like, can you actually control here? Yeah. Oh, do you feel your abs working? Versus some people go, I can't even move my spine. Like, what are you talking about? My low back pain patients will think, if you have chronic low back pain, your multifidi and then the muscles in your back tend to atrophy. And when they're atrophied, you can't control that. There's nothing there. So you have to retrain that pattern and then bring them back to the big thing.
I think it's pretty crazy that that's what's crazy, how like the human being is so complicated, because it's like kind of weird for even you to like say that and hear it, like things are turning off, like things are turning on. And that's what's like the worst part about like bodybuilding training is like in the early stages is like trying to figure out like how can I potentially grow this one body part, even though there's multiple that you're trying to grow. But like, how do I grow that one body part, and like how do I like pretty much be efficient in training that body part? Because like you'll see like and it goes back to the point of like personal training, where like when they get a client, like I'll see it at the typical gym. I'm at a Parks and Rec gym in Tinley Park, and they'll get a client and then they'll put them like under the barbell, and they won't even do like a single leg squat, a double leg squat with just body weight, but all of a sudden they're squatting, via top of the toe, and it looks like they're doing like a tiptoe squat, or their heels are jumping up every time they're on the upward movement, or they're going backwards, their toes are moving up. Yeah. So it's like, sometimes even like training people, specifically just like seeing it firsthand, is like, it's kind of crazy. And obviously we're talking about something different, but like, it kind of goes back to that point where it's like, you need to kind of almost start from the beginning.
And that's what, like, mobility training is like body control, right? If
Yeah.
you can't control your body in space with just your own weight,
Yeah.
well, when we throw an external load on there, you're going to have no idea. Like, you have
Yeah.
now more restraint, so people default to the easiest pattern, right?
Yeah.
So you'll see people, like, when they do their curls, like, they start swinging or, like, elbows flaring, because it's easier. Your body's going to default to whatever is easiest.
Yeah, and then also, too, and that's why another suggestion, too, is every time I talk to, like, a younger lifter or, you know, some people that, like, I would see in the gym, is I just say just record too. Just like, I know people always think there's always that negative connotation where it's like you're just recording for followers. Like, no, like most of the time, like I don't even post. I post honestly like probably like a quarter of what Kyle posts, but like but I also have like probably the amount of videos he has. So it's like that's but I also do it because I want to post and also I want to see if my elbows are bothering me. Like, I want to make sure, like, when I'm ascending from the squat, my elbows aren't flaring. Because, like, what you mentioned about elbows flaring with the bicep curls is easy, but a lot of the times that rack position can get messed up.
And you don't know unless you see it.
Exactly.
Right? When you're doing something, you don't know what you look like from an outside perspective.
It might feel okay, but it's like, okay, but you also just, like, got your rack position. You flared your elbows all the way up. Your elbows were almost parallel with, like, your neck.
Right.
So it's like... Did you notice that? So like that was a lot of the thing is like because I was getting some nice numbers finally. I was squatting over 300 pounds for reps, and like I haven't really been able to do that like my whole lifetime. Right. And that's like I was like, man, my whole goal this year was just to squat over 300, and I was already on path to almost squat 350. So like, you know, my goal was like, God, I'm gonna get to 400 by the end of the year. And also, I've been maintaining my weight. Like, I was pretty much 210, 211 for almost a year now. Maybe even less than a year. But, like, and then now I'm, like, 208. So it's, like, so I'm just, like, but, like, you know, like Kyle was saying, it's, like, you kind of have to, like, figure things out and make sure you're not overdoing things. And, you know, you might need to get that fresh start, right?
Right, exactly.
So that's good. I had to get it in there because like I said when it was on a walk this morning, and I was like, well, a lot of the times you would probably do something that's going to challenge that too, but as you just said, which kind of corrected me, is like you want to make sure you do things right before you start loading that stuff.
Exactly. It's like a squat, right? Like if someone just came off of knee surgery, you wouldn't be like, go get a barbell. Like, hey, can you actually just stand up from the chair and then can you do an air squat and then can you do some singling and then we go there. But for some reason we skip that with pregnancy. Yeah.
So that's good because like we'll just have to kind of take her through the basics because in the fall, and also too, she pretty much has been lifting like 4 or 5 days a week, walking every day. So I always tend to people are scared of that. Like my mom gets so scared. She goes, "Should she be lifting?"
Right.
And I'm like,
school,
And it just kind of stinks that you know. Maybe I could ask that next, but maybe I do have other questions that Roman wanted me to ask.
Let's do it.
Okay, so he did it. We answered that. What populations are you presently seeing the most? You kind of see a range, right? Is there a most?
All over. You know what my like bread and butter seems to be is like your 30 to 50-year-old like office workers, because they're usually in the most amount of pain because they have the most sedentary lifestyle and they want to get into being more fit and active, but pain usually stops them because they go from an inactive state to trying to be active again, and back pain comes up, neck pain, shoulder, wrist, ankle. I do work with a lot of athletes, but they're usually a lot more resilient and kind of want to work through things on their own. It's that middle-aged population where most of the business comes from. Now,
there was this is not a question, but you just brought up something about like how someone at the gym told me, and I was going to talk about it with Roman. We didn't get a chance on the last podcast, but I'll ask you. He did mention... Some older gentleman at the gym mentioned something about like deadlifting and asked me about like, you know, when I was younger, I used to deadlift a lot and, you know, I used to do all this stuff and now my back hurts. I guess it's multiple questions, but my first question is, do you think injuries, I mean, obviously we see someone like Ronnie Coleman where he's like just almost like disabled.
Right.
But do you think a lot of injuries like creep up like years from when it actually happened, or do you think people would be able to see that? Because like for me, like I tend to, I tend to think that the body would tell you more or less right away.
Yeah, so you'll see there's two things. Sometimes an actual injury happens where pain, boom, there it is. Sometimes it's a progression of you go from a joint that moves really well to a joint that's more stiff to a joint that's achy to a joint that hurts. Yeah. Right? There's that spectrum, and people usually who get back pain go, yeah, my back was stiff and achy for years before, now all of a sudden it hurts.
All of a sudden it just like feels like it's broke.
Right, and then what they do is they avoid all the things that hurt them, no fault of their own, but they have no one teach them how to move again. So these people go, I don't deadlift anymore. I mean, what do you mean you don't deadlift? Do you not bend down and pick stuff up?
Yeah, especially with older population, I'm like, do you not pick up your grandchild?
Right.
And it's like, I mean, most of the time when you're talking about like a 1 or 2 year old and you're watching them, they're probably going to ask you to pick them up.
Right. So you still have to do those things, and then now they're not training that pattern anymore, and now they're more susceptible to further injury, and then guess what? Now they're not moving as they age. And that's where it's like, and it's the miscommunication of our healthcare system and, clinicians like myself is getting these people not fear avoidant of movement. Yeah, this hurts, but it's okay. Like I had someone this morning who had back pain. I was teaching her how to Jefferson curl and hinge because she still needs to do that. Yeah. If you take that away for years, your body forgets how to do it. Now you're fearful and you'll re-injure, and then it's just this never-ending cycle of chronic.
Well, I had the initial feeling of that because it's like, to my personal knowledge, and like I said, I've been training like pretty consistently, pretty much since like end of high school, college, and it's been over 10 years. So, like, and I've actually had times where I had, like, a pinched nerve, and I'm like, okay, did I record any of those sessions? Am I deadlifting properly? Like, I've gotten hurt from the deadlift for sure. And then when you look back at some of the videos, it's like, okay, my lower back was kind of rounding. My traps, my upper back wasn't even locked in. So I had a feeling, not to say I'm always right, but like, I had a feeling because the fact that and like I said, I'm curious because I want to know too, and a lot of people want to know, is like you would be able to tell. And like I was saying, like what you're saying about me being with like achy with my elbows, like if I kept on doing the same patterns, and like I said, we won't know because I'm not doing it. Right. Because I'm not gonna push through it anymore. Right. Like I'm when I pick up my kid, like holy shit, like my elbows like were flaring up pretty bad. Yeah. So like what Kyle was saying is like, for my training myself is I'm not gonna keep doing those same patterns and getting to the point where like my elbows, pretty much like I can't move my elbows. I can't flex. I can't pronate, supinate. I can't do that stuff. So like that's the whole point of that stuff. And like if I would have just kept going and then like 5 years later, 10 years later, like all of a sudden like I tore a tendon in my elbow. No, I'm not going to get to that point because I'm recognizing like, hey, I'm achy. I'm in sort of pain. Like I don't want to go further and test that.
People ignore those warnings. Your body will tell you. There's freak things that all of a sudden pain happens, but like you'll notice like all of a sudden like with back pain, well now I have a hard time reaching down and pick stuff up. Now I'm starting to be like I get out of a chair and I'm stiff and then they don't think anything of it. They go to the gym and still load up a heavy deadlift like it's nothing, and then they're surprised that it happens and they blame the deadlift and they don't blame that it's years of not doing other movements.
Yeah, so that I know that wasn't even a question on there, but that's like I think that's something that's a big takeaway with this too, is like overused patterns, not overused patterns, like when you said, when you don't get in a deep squat and then you can't all of a sudden get off the ground, or you can't squat and then get off the ground, or you can't deadlift and pick up your grandchild. I think that's also a lot of the important things too, is because like my goal, and probably your goal, is like when we're old, like when we're older, like 80, I don't want to have to like rely on people to walk me. I don't want to.
No, well, that's my whole idea on training has changed so much where I don't care how much I deadlift anymore. Yeah. I want to be able to maintain a certain amount of weight as I go through life. But the goal is like, dude, when I hit 70, 80, 90 years old, I want to be able to move and do stuff. I don't want to be the person, because once you can't move, your life deteriorates. And that is not like, it's just not what you want.
Yeah, so like that's I'm glad that popped in my head, because that was a big question that I'm glad that I asked it, because I feel like with Roman and I, we kind of anecdotally like say something, but I want to make sure we get like some good quality answers and whatnot from you. So Okay. What are the biggest misconceptions people have about fitness when they come to you?
Ooh.
Is there any?
The biggest misconception.
I mean, we did talk about some about like,
you know what? Here's a good one.
Doing minimum time intensity.
I think the biggest thing, and this maybe is more on the rehab side, is people treat pain as a thing they shouldn't touch at all, right?
Yeah.
That hurts, I'm not going to do it all. Sometimes it's an okay thing to still have pain when you're doing an exercise, but we're doing maybe something a little different. So for instance, people who have back pain when they deadlift, well, hey, let's switch to an RDL for a little bit. It still might bother you some, but we have to get that pattern better first. Yeah. Or, you have some shoulder pain, but I'm going to give you some variations that are going to offload that tissue. You might still have some discomfort, but to be completely a fear avoidant of pain is definitely not the right mindset, because then guess what? Now we don't use our shoulder anymore. Now we're 5 years down the road. I get a lot of people go, I don't bench press anymore. I don't squat anymore. I go, well, why? Because it hurt me 5 years ago. I was like, but don't you need like at least these patterns in life? You don't have to max out your bench, but you should still be able to squat. Some variation, right? Mm-hmm. You don't like barbell? Go to a hack squat. Go to a belt squat. Go to a front squat.
Yeah, I mentioned. I mean, there's a 45. It's like an angled like a slant board like that, and I squat on that machine like pretty much half my squat training because it doesn't. I don't have to load my arms. I don't have to get in that rack position, and it feels nice.
Well, how about here's another thing to follow up with. A big misconception is everybody has to do every single exercise. Some people don't like certain exercises. Yeah. Fine. I don't like barbell back squat anymore. I don't do it. I belt squat. I hack squat. I front
That's
squat.
me with front squats. Don't ever ask me to do a front
squat.
squat.
No, because like for most people, it's like, this is super uncomfortable. I go, well, do you have to do that to stay fit? How often in life are you doing this? Like
how
overhead squat.
Yeah.
How often in your life are you taking something overhead and doing a full squat?
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah.
You need a zercher more than anything. You need to pick something up with a rounded back more than anything.
Yeah, pick up something enough heavy off the ground. You don't need to be stiff, straight back. You don't need to do that. As long as everything's tight and everything's working together, that's what you need. Because, like I said, I mean, we mentioned it on the last one, is like the Rice method. We like a lot of the times is like when you get injured, people rest. And also, too, like probably a couple months ago, my wife twisted her ankle pretty bad. Like she missed a step, she twisted it, got an X-ray, no broken ankle, thankfully. But guess what I had her doing? And people are going to be like, wow, are you abusive husband? And I got this on film. But I was like, you know what? Let's try walk around the block tomorrow. And I said, let's take as many steps as we can. And that's what I said. And her ankle was fat. Like we're talking probably like 3 times the size. Some would say cankle. But I don't know if that's politically right.
I don't know anymore, right?
Yeah, I can't.
Just make it cancel. We might be done.
Yeah, but no, I had her walking, and honestly, she was back in the gym squatting within like a month, probably less than a month. And a lot what I think is what I know we talked about a lot of back issues, but with like the ankles, what I've noticed is a lot of people take a lot of time off, and they'll say they're still sore like months later.
Because people think, okay, this is something I need to rest. There's very few cases where rest is going to solve it. You tore your ACL. You had surgery. Okay, you're going to need some extra rest. Yeah. You sprained your ankle or like twisted something or have like a pulled muscle. That's not the case, because then once you go back to the exercise that you've avoided for 2 or 3 months, you're going to feel the exact same way. You're weaker. You're less likely to be strong in that position. So
that's why I suggest, and I don't know if you do, but like unilateral work, make sure you're working individually so you can catch up. My father-in-law had knee surgery on his one knee. I'm like, dude, we're going to do leg extensions. We're going to do the bad one first, and then you're going to match it with the good one.
Yes.
And that's all you're going to do until your bad one feels like your good one.
Well, people get fear avoid too, and they just like don't do it all. Like you could just take the weight back. Like people think if they can't do the max amount of weight on that exercise, they're not going to do it. I go, just do a little bit. Yeah. So like I always push like other gym members and gym goers. Like they'll see me and then like what's been nice recently, I don't know if it's because it's the summer and everyone's working out and they want to get fit, but like 2 older women actually asked me about like that slanted board squat machine, and they saw me squat like 5 or 6 plates on each side, and then they just asked me about it, and I was like, well, like let me know if you need help with it, like, and she goes, well, I'm not going to do that way. I'm like, I never said you had to. And that's where people are at, where they go, oh, deadlift. I'm not going to put 4 plates in there.
Yeah.
You do a barbell.
Yeah.
You're just training a pattern.
Yeah. Yeah, I just think it's always important because it's like, that's what I was saying. Like, sometimes, like, I know the deadlift and, trap bar deadlift, they don't work and recruit the same muscles, and it's not the same movement, and it's and you can never compete with a trap bar deadlift. But like I couldn't tell you how many times where it's like I've done a conventional style deadlift where it's like sometimes I just want to do a trap bar deadlift.
Totally fine.
And people are like, well, it's not going to get you better at the conventional deadlift. I'm like, well, it's still doing something. I'm still picking something off the ground.
Right.
Yeah. So it's like I don't necessarily care about that stuff. And then back to the point where my elbow pain came from, and I've been doing the same. Like I said, I'm a consistent kind of guy. When something works, it works, and there's a reason why it works. But that's pretty much. I don't know if you want to. Okay, we'll do this question, and we'll kind of just end things then.
A few more minutes.
If you can impart, he meant to say impact. If you can impact 3 pieces of impart. If you could, maybe it is impart.
Maybe it is impart.
Yeah, if you can impart 3 pieces of advice to our audience to increase their health outcomes, what would those pieces of advice be? And you might have talked about some of it.
Yeah, I think let's recap some things.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing is, how do I say this? You need to train with the right intensity. I think a lot of people do way too much and they don't train with the right intensity. And then they wonder why they're not moving towards their goals, right? And that's the same for strength, mobility, rehab. There has to be intensity. I think you need to train all movement patterns to some extent, right? Don't fear avoid. Like some people tell me they never squat or deadlift. Like, do you not hinge or squat at all? Some people legit will not. And that's, I think, a fundamental part of life. A third one, what do you got? I don't even know. I'm trying to think. I mean, we've hit on some good things.
I would say just try to balance your life as much as possible to consistently get like good sleep and nutrition and like, mental awareness about your life.
And this is something I talked to a client
holistically
is back out of it and look at am I still moving towards my goals? It doesn't have to, it's not an all or nothing.
Yeah.
Last week I think I worked out twice. Fine. Because life gets busy where people go, it's all or nothing. If I can't work out 5 times, I'm not going to work out at all.
Yeah.
If I can't get all my mobility training in, I won't do any of it. It's like set very small goals and keep stacking those. Like you talked about habits, like atomic habits. They say keep stacking these things over and over and over, and then you'll see the results. Like you don't see the result of one training, like one hip car.
Yeah, you don't.
No, but guess what? When I do 1,000 over the course of 2 years, because people ask me all the time, how'd you get so good at mobility? I've been doing it little bits at a time for 5 years now.
Yeah.
Like same thing clinically, same thing with anything. You can look at that and scale and be like, little wins stack up to, it's that 1% difference, right?
And listening to, I just want to say, that last piece of advice, I have listened. Because remember I told you I had some pretty crappy ankle mobility. Mm-hmm. I haven't put squat shoes back on and I'm still wearing barefoots.
Yeah.
And my ankles haven't felt like that like probably within a year because of the fact that I have how much work I put in my ankles, and like when I get in a deep squat, nothing. When I'm picking something off the ground, nothing. Mm-hmm. It's just so much better now to the fact that like he was saying, it's like it's not all about that one rep, but if you look at like a year later right now and like I haven't put squat shoes on, I don't need them anymore. I don't really care. Like my ankles feel so much better because of it. But
No, I think that's literally what I tell people. Like even with rehab, it's like, hey, you're not going to leave here on day one and be like, this is it. I'm like,
and I'm 100%.
You keep stacking up. So I tell people like you're going to do this pretty often for a few weeks, and then like that's going to stack. It's all about stacking.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, man.
Any last words do you want to throw out? I mean, we're going to have it on there. Do you want to throw out anything you want them to follow, anything you want them to do?
Honestly, just stay in touch with me on Instagram, YouTube. I'm always doing crazy amounts of stuff on there. I just appreciate the support from you and everyone else. I mean, it's truly appreciated. So thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. Like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.
See ya.